Have you ever wondered how to use Claude Code as a designer and actually start making some money? Because most people think that you need years of design experience and some sort of magical creative talent to get paid for design work, but that is completely wrong. Because the truth is, with Claude Code, you can create clean, professional designs faster than traditional designers who have been doing this for decades. And you don't need to be creative in the more traditional sense. You really just need the right system. And of course, I'm about to give you that exact system. Because you see, while everyone else is spending months learning complex design software and building massive portfolios, there is a small group of people who are using AI to skip all of that and go straight to making money. They're landing clients, they're delivering high quality work and building real income streams without any of the traditional barriers. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. We're going to cover what types of designs that people actually pay for, whether those are websites, landing pages, UI components. And of course, I'm going to walk you through my simple workflow that takes you from idea to finished design to paid client in record time. I'm also going to reveal how to get clients without a big portfolio, and of course, how to price your work so you don't undersell yourself like most beginners do. And by the end of this video, you're going to have everything that you need to start offering design services and really actually getting paid for them. So if you've ever wanted to break into design, but you always thought that it was too complicated or competitive, well, this is going to change everything for you. Now, if you want to master AI tools and you want to learn how to build profitable mobile apps with AI, SaaS apps, websites, and AI agents, I've also created a complete masterclass that shows you exactly how to do it all step by step. And this masterclass normally costs $299 to join, but since you are watching this video, thank you very much. You can go ahead and join completely free. Just check out that link in the description down below to get free access to my masterclass, and you can really start building your own AI-powered business today. So here's the reality that most designers don't realize when they first look at Claude Code. There's this assumption that to use it properly, you need to learn complex syntax and understand how everything works under the hood and basically transition into a more developer type role. And that's where things start really going wrong, because raw agentic tools like Claude Code were built with engineers in mind, yes, not designers. They don't come with a visual interface. They don't manage infrastructure for you, and they don't protect your work in a way that's reliable for client delivery. What ends up happening then is that designers get pulled into something that looks powerful at first, but then it quickly turns into technical friction. So instead of launching products or building systems for clients, time just gets eaten up trying to configure local environments and fix setup issues and figure out how to even get something running. So the focus shifts away from design thinking and into more problem solving at a technical level that honestly most designers didn't even sign up for. So that gap becomes even clearer once you try to build something real. Direct Claude Code requires you to manage things like CSS frameworks and API connections and JavaScript logic manually. So that alone is enough to slow down creative flow. And on top of that, there's no built-in infrastructure as well. So hosting and databases and security and uptime and all of that becomes your responsibility. Every project needs a place to live, and raw code doesn't provide that for you. And that is where timelines start really stretching thin. Something that should take days ends up taking weeks or even months before it's usable enough to show a client. And in a fast-moving market, that delay kills momentum. It also introduces risk. So if, say, something breaks during a presentation or a live demo, the client doesn't see the effort behind it. No, they just see that it doesn't work. And that is usually enough to just lose trust. And over time, the role itself starts to shift. Less time goes into refining visual direction and brand identity or user experience, and more time goes into debugging and maintenance. And at that point, really the work just starts looking more like development than actual design. And the smarter way to approach this is to separate the intelligence from the execution layer. Now, Claude already provides the reasoning, the creative logic, and the ability to think through complex systems. What it lacks, however, on its own is a structured environment to turn that logic into something usable. And that's exactly where Base 44 comes in, because Base 44 acts as the sort of managed layer that Claude Code is missing. It gives you a visual sort of canvas where you can direct everything using natural language while the platform handles the infrastructure all in the background. So you're no longer dealing with things like servers and security or deployment all by yourself. Everything rather is already set up to work in a production-ready environment for you. The experience then changes completely because of that. So now you still get the full reasoning power of Claude Opus 4.6 and 4.7, yes, but now it's also accessible through a system that actually fits how designers think and work. So moving from a brand concept to a working application then becomes something that you can do in a single session, not over the course of weeks. The reliability also improves. Hosting, SSL, and system stability are handled for you here, which means that you're not worrying about broken links or unstable builds when delivering to clients. And that alone removes a huge layer of stress from the process. And then scaling becomes straightforward as well, because once you build a system that works for you, you can then just replicate it across multiple clients without having to rebuild everything from scratch each time or increasing technical complexity. The structure is already there, so growth does not depend on how much manual work you can handle. At the core of all of this, the roles stay clearly defined because Claude handles the creative logic, the thinking, and the system design, while Base 44 handles the execution, the structure, and the delivery. So that combination is what allows designers to operate at a much higher level without getting pulled into the technical side of development work. The first service that you can offer is an AI-powered brand identity system. And this is a strong starting point here because traditional brand guides are really becoming less useful all on their own. Most brand guides are still delivered as static PDFs, and once the project is finished, then those PDFs usually get buried in a folder somewhere, ignored by the team, or just used inconsistently. In 2026, the better offer is not just a brand guide, it's a living brand engine. And this means you're building a custom application that stores the client's logos and colors and typography and visual rules and brand strategy, while also giving them AI tools that help them generate new on-brand content whenever they need it. So instead of selling, say, a one-time identity package, you're really giving the client a permanent operational asset that their team can then keep using every single day. So what you're really selling here is a complete brand identity system with intelligent guidelines and applications. And Claude's role here is to analyze the client's brand requirements and generate the design strategy behind the system. Base 44's role is to turn that strategy into an interactive brand guideline platform with asset management built right in. So for this service, the main Base 44 feature you'll use is app building. And to build it, we'll start by going to this URL here on your screen. It's at Base 44, and then log into your account. And once you're inside, you'll see the main AI prompt panel here in the middle of the screen. So before entering anything here, let's go ahead and click the settings icon on the lower left side of the AI prompt panel and set the AI model to Opus 4.6. And this matters because Opus 4.6 gives us the strongest reasoning depth for brand strategy, structure, and visual logic. So now let's go back to the prompt bar and enter this in exactly. Build brand core intelligence, an application that takes a client's brand DNA and generates a dynamic, interactive style guide with a built-in asset manager. Create entities for brand underscore requirements, design underscore strategy, and visual underscore guidelines. Include an intake form to capture the client's vibe. And the reason we use an intake form here is because brand analysis starts with data, and Claude needs structured input about the client's brand DNA, their mission, visual preferences, and overall vibe, again, before it can generate a useful decision strategy. And once the prompt is entered, we'll just click the arrow icon to submit it and give Base 44 a few minutes minutes to build the application. And Base 44 will generate the full brand strategy platform for you. It creates the intake form, the AI-powered style guide, generation, and the asset management structure. And once the generation is done, you'll see a working preview of the app on your screen here. After that, you'll want to provision the asset manager. So hover over the prompt panel, click the settings gear here again, and then make sure that Opus 4.6 is still selected. Then enter this prompt exactly. Create a masonry gallery on the homepage that displays items from the asset_library entity. Populate it with sample data for now. And once Base 44 finishes applying that prompt, the app will now include an asset library UI and an asset_library database entity. And then the dashboard will display assets in a masonry style gallery with category filters and a lightbox viewer so the client can browse brand assets in a more polished and visual way. And at this point, you've now built an AI-driven platform for generating interactive brand style guides and managing brand assets. The dashboard here gives the client a portfolio-style view of all created brands, along with a dynamic masonry gallery of brand assets. And the brand intake form captures those kinds of requirements through a sort of multi-step flow and stores the client's brand DNA, their mission, and visual preferences inside the brand_requirements entity. The AI-powered generation then uses that intake data to create the design_strategy and visual_guidelines. So these can include the brand personality, the typography, direction, color strategy, and logo usage rules. The app also includes a dedicated brand style guide page where the generated design strategy and the visual guidelines are displayed in an interactive format instead of just being buried inside a static PDF. The asset management side lets the client upload and organize brand assets through the asset_library. And those assets are shown directly on the dashboard using the masonry gallery with filtering and a lightbox viewer to just make everything easy to access. The entire application really is responsive as well, so it works smoothly on both desktop and mobile. Now for pricing, this kind of system can be sold for say around $3,000 to $10,000 for setup, plus $500 to $2,000 per month for management. And the reason the pricing here is higher than a normal brand guide is because, well, you're not just handing over a deliverable. No, you're building an ongoing asset, and the setup fee covers the initial architecture of the system. And this includes using Claude Opus 4.6 to perform a deep reasoning audit of the client's industry, their competitors, and the core values, then building the custom portal and provisioning the first version of the asset library. So the monthly management fee then keeps the brand AI ready over time. It covers ongoing optimization of brand metadata, content generation costs, and of course, secure hosting for the portal. So the client value is very clear here because this helps eliminate brand drift. In 2026, brands also need to think about AI visibility optimization, or AIVO. And that means the brand should be structured in a way that can be understood and surfaced by AI search tools and agents, similar to how SEO mattered for search engines in earlier years. And this system also improves operational speed because once every logo variant, hex code, and typography rule and tone of voice guideline is centralized inside one interactive hub, then marketing teams save a whole lot of time that would normally be spent searching for assets or checking whether something is brand compliant. And that can save around 15 to 20 hours per month. The living nature of the guide itself is where the offer becomes even stronger here, because now the client can generate new on-brand social banners, email headers, or other marketing assets using the built-in AI tools without ever needing a designer to manually export every single variation. So then profit margins usually sit around 70 to 80%. And the reason is that you're now replacing a manual brand strategy process that normally takes weeks with a faster discovery engine powered powered by Claude and Base 44. And since the portal can be built using repeatable vibe coding prompts, then your actual labor time drops to hours while the setup fee stays premium. So the ongoing maintenance is mostly all automated here, which makes the monthly retainer highly profitable, honestly. But here's the thing, as you've seen, Base 44 is incredibly powerful, but most people don't even know how to use it properly. They end up building basic apps that don't make any money or websites that can't even convert. So that's exactly why I created my own complete Base 44 Masterclass. Inside of my course, I'm going to show you step by step how to build profitable SaaS businesses and high converting websites and mobile apps, all using, of course, AI with zero coding required. And you're going to learn how to build SaaS apps that really do solve problems and generate recurring revenue. I'm also going to give you my exact prompts and strategies that I use to create professional websites in minutes, along with how to clone successful apps and then add your own profitable twist. And with my proven system for turning Base 44 projects into actual income streams. And this is not just theory, because I'm going to walk you through real builds. I'm going to show you my exact process, and I'm going to give you the templates and the frameworks that have helped my former students launch successful AI-powered businesses of their own today. And again, this masterclass normally costs $299 to join, but only for the people that are watching this video. Thank you very much. You can join completely free. So if you're serious, and I'm hoping you're serious about building something profitable with AI in 2026, you got to click that link in the description to join my Base 44 Masterclass, because I promise you, your future self will thank you for taking action today instead of just watching another tutorial. For now, let's go ahead and go back to our list. The second service that you can offer is interactive design prototypes. And this is valuable here because clients do often struggle to understand how a web application will actually feel when all they have is a static mockup. A Figma screen can show the layout, yes, but it does not always communicate the experience. It does not show how the buttons respond, how the data moves, or how the user would actually interact with the product. And that's why interactive prototypes are such a strong offer. You're not just selling visuals, you're selling functional reality. So these prototypes are working applications with real buttons, real data entry, and interactive flows, which allows clients to validate an idea before spending, say, $50,000 or more on traditional development. So what you're selling here is a high fidelity prototype that lets the client click through their own business idea as if it already exists. So then Claude's role is to understand the UX requirements and generate the logical flow and handle the interactive state management behind the prototype. And Base 44's role is to render the front-end interface quickly and provide a dummy_data entity so the prototype feels complete instead of empty. So for this service, the main feature you'll use is app building. And to start, let's go ahead and visit this URL from Base 44 and then open up the builder. And once you're inside, click the settings icon here on the lower left of the AI prompt panel and set the AI model to Opus 4.6. This gives Claude the reasoning depth needed to really understand the user experience and also structure the prototype properly. And now enter this prompt exactly. Build Provision Real Estate, a functional prototype of a property management app that features real data entry and interactive property cards. Include a search bar, property listing entity, and a dashboard for managing bookings. So click the arrow icon next to submit the prompt and then give Base 44 just a few minutes to generate the application. And it will build a property management prototype for you with an interactive design and built-in entities and working components along with a dashboard structure. And then once the generation is finished, as you can see, a preview of the app will then appear on our screen here. After the first version is ready, we can go ahead and now make the experience feel more intelligent and polished. So we'll hover over the prompt panel here, click the settings gear again, and make sure that Opus 4.6 is still selected. Then enter this prompt exactly. When a user hovers over a property, the property photo should enlarge and pop up in the middle of the screen. And that's the whole prompt, because once Base 44 applies that change, now hovering over a property card for about half a second will enlarge the property photo and then display it in the center of the screen with a dark overlay. And the pop-up will also show the property title and the address, which gives the prototype a much more finished and interactive feel. This proves to the client that the design is not just attractive, but actually functional and ready for user testing. So at this point, you've built a working prototype of a property management application, all designed to help users manage a property portfolio and their bookings. The dashboard gives an overview of portfolio statistics, recent properties, and recent bookings. The property listing section here allows users to search and then filter properties by type and status, while the property details section lets them view each property, make updates, delete entries, and then create new bookings connected to that property. The booking management section here also allows users to view and search and filter and edit bookings all in one place. The hover interaction, again, adds a more premium feel by expanding the property image in the center of the screen and also showing key property details. Now, behind the scenes, Base 44 is handling authentication and data storage through the back end using property and booking entities to make the prototype feel just more like a real product. The app is also responsive, so it works smoothly across desktop and mobile. And for pricing, this type of property can be sold for, say, around $2,000 to $6,000 per project. The pricing works well here because these are usually rapid delivery projects that can be completed in, say, about 3 to 10 days. A simpler $2,000 version could be a 5-screen functional prototype, yes, with basic data entry like a lead form or user profile. And a higher-end $6,000 version could be a multi-tenant enterprise dashboard with advanced filtering and real-time search logic and simulated super agent interactions. Now, since the build is handled through Vibe coding, your actual labor time really does stay low, but the perceived value is quite high. For a client trying to raise funding, get board approval, or validate a product idea, a working prototype is far more persuasive than just a static deck. The value for the client comes from avoided costs. They can test and validate the idea before ever having to commit to expensive development. Also, functional prototypes can reduce wasted development time because teams can see what works and what does not before engineers start building the final product. Organizations using Mosaic or Base 44 style prototypes can deliver final dashboards 3 weeks faster and reduce redundant metrics by 44%. A prototype that actually works with real data also helps with investor readiness. It gives stakeholders something that they can actually interact with, which then just creates more confidence than a static presentation. User feedback also becomes more accurate as well because people are now responding to real input and real interactions instead of imagining how a button or a workflow might behave. Profit margins usually fall around 65 to 75%. There's a bit more attention required when shaping the user flow here and refining interactions, but the overall cost structure stays low since everything is built inside a single platform. Traditional workflows would require handing this off to engineers after design is done, which then just increases both time and cost. So here, the entire process stays streamlined, allowing you to deliver something that feels close to a finished product, all without the overhead of a full team. Now, for the client, the impact is significant because they can just now move forward with clarity and confidence while your expenses remain limited to the platform and usage, keeping the margins still strong. The third service that you can offer is design system automation, and this solves one of the biggest problems modern marketing teams deal with every single day: the constant need for social media assets. Now, a team may already have the brand guide, the colors, the fonts, and the visual direction, but they still need someone to manually turn every single quote and campaign idea, announcement, or trend into a finished graphic. Now, this is where the offer becomes really powerful. By using Base 44 and Super Agents, you can build an automated design engine that generates branded social media graphics and marketing assets from a single input. The client enters the content and the system uses their brand DNA to produce visual direction and downloadable deliverables. So now what you're really selling here is time back. The client no longer needs a designer manually exporting every single post. Claude's role is to understand the design principles behind the output, including hierarchy and balance, color theory, typography, and brand consistency. That acts like the creative director for the whole system. Base 44's role is then to orchestrate the super agent to monitor the content database and trigger the creation of the final graphics. So for this service, you'll use app building and super agent together. To start, go ahead to this URL from Base 44 and open up the builder. And once you're inside, click the settings icon again on the lower left side of the AI prompt panel and set the AI model to Opus 4.6. And again, this just makes sure that the app is being built with stronger reasoning around layout, content structure, and visual logic. So now enter this prompt exactly. Build the Autovibe social engine, an app that takes a text quote and automatically generates a branded Instagram post. Provision a social_drafts entity with fields for text_content and visual_style. Create a dashboard with a generate asset button that triggers a super agent. So now let's go ahead and click the arrow icon to submit it and give Base 44 just a few minutes to generate the app. And the platform will create a sleek creative studio with a dashboard, a social_drafts entity, a whole gallery, and a visual preview panel for Instagram posts. Now, once Base 44 finishes this up, you'll see the working preview here on your screen. So next, you'll now provision the creative agent. So let's go to this URL again from Base 44 and then click Get Your Super Agent. Give the agent a name, something like Autovibe-bot, then describe what you built and what the agent should do using this exact instruction. I built an app that takes a text quote and automatically generates a branded Instagram post here in Base 44. The name of the app is Autovibe. Connect to that app and monitor the social_drafts entity. When a new row is added, use Opus 4.6 to analyze design principles and draft a branded social media banner layout. Alright, so after that prompt, the super agent will then monitor your social media drafts and then turn each idea into a visual blueprint. It reads the whole text content, it looks at the visual style, and it maps out how the Instagram banner should be structured so that the final result actually feels professional and on brand. It plans the placement of text and visual elements and colors and overall layout direction before the asset is generated. So now we'll go back to Base 44, the app builder, to automate delivery. Let's hover over the prompt panel, click the settings gear again, and just make sure that Opus 4.6 is still selected. Then enter this prompt exactly. Every time an asset is generated, save it to the client_deliverables as a high-res branded PDF with the quote, the visual style and color palette, and hashtags along with a high-res PNG file of the generated asset. Make it accessible and downloadable through the Deliverables tab. And once that's applied, now every generated asset triggers a back-end function that creates both a branded PDF and a high-resolution PNG. The PDF includes the quote, the visual style, the color palette, and of course the hashtags, while the PNG just gives the client the finished graphic. Everything is saved under client_deliverables and can be accessed again through the Deliverables tab with download buttons. So here, at this point, we've now built a creative studio application that generates branded Instagram content from text quotes. Also, the app uses a modular structure with components like draft card and draft gallery and Instagram preview, along with a more efficient data fetching layer through tan/stack/React query to connect the front end with the social_drafts and client_deliverables entities. So now the whole interface here, as you can see, is dark, it's modern, and it's built around a simple quote input flow. The client can create drafts and manage them in a gallery and see a real-time visual preview of the Instagram post. The navigation moves between the main dashboard, the full drafts library, and detail pages for individual individual drafts and deliverables. The AI integration is handled through the super agent, which then analyzes each quote and defines the visual mood, the typography, direction, color scheme, and the layout approach. And then from there, the system generates visual style descriptions, suggesting color palettes and recommending hashtags and creating a brand image based on the input. So the finished deliverables are automatically saved as high-resolution PDFs and PNG files, and the full application just works smoothly on both desktop and mobile. So for pricing, this service can be sold for around $4,000 to $10,000 to $12,000 for setup, plus monthly management fees, of course. The setup fee covers the training of the super agent, and this is where you build the logic that keeps the AI aligned with the client's brand colors, their typography, the hierarchy, and all of the creative standards. The monthly management fee then is usually structured as a sort of base retainer plus a credit pool for asset generation. So that way you're paid for ongoing compute, brand logic updates, and system maintenance as the brand evolves. The client value then comes from having a more consistent, high-volume brand presence without having to hire a full-time social media designer. Marketing teams can gain around 20 to 30% in departmental efficiency simply because they just move away from endless documents back and forth and into automated exports. The system also reduces human error because every banner is generated at the correct resolution with the correct hex codes and brand rules applied. It also gives the client speed. So say if a new market trend appears, they can now enter a fresh headline and then generate dozens of branded graphics for different channels in minutes rather than just waiting for a designer to create each variation manually. And margins for this type of service typically land between 75 and 85%. The structure works in your favor because most of the effort then just goes into setting up the system and aligning it with the brand at the beginning. But after that, the generation process just runs with very little involvement. The system continues producing assets without requiring additional design hours, which keeps costs low while the output remains valuable to the client. The fourth service that you can offer is client design portals, and this is one of the most underrated opportunities because client management is usually the messiest part of the entire process. Most designers are still dealing with long email threads and scattered files and missed feedback and constant back and forth just to keep a project moving. It slows everything down and makes the experience just feel unstructured from the client side. A custom design portal built in Base 44 fixes that completely by centralizing the relationship into one system. It gives clients a secure space where they can upload their briefs, review deliverables, approve work, and handle payments. It also positions you at a much higher level because now, instead of looking like a freelancer juggling messages, you're now operating like a structured agency with a dedicated platform. So now what you're selling here is a custom portal where clients can request and review and approve designs in one place. Again, Claude handles the logic here behind project management and communication, while Base 44 builds the full system, including, say, file management, workflows, and user access. So this service uses both app building and super agent. To build it, just go ahead and visit this URL from Base 44 and open up the builder. Now, once you're inside, click the settings icon here on the lower left side of the AI prompt panel again, and just make sure that the AI model is set to Opus 4.6. This ensures the system is structured properly with clear logic around roles and workflows and project tracking. So now enter this prompt exactly. Build Studio Sync Elite, a secure client portal where users log in to manage their design projects and approve deliverables. Include a project_status bar, a file_upload zone for a project_briefs entity, and a payment_portal integrated with Stripe. So let's submit that prompt, and then again, just wait for Base 44 as it builds the application. Now, during the process, it might ask you to connect Stripe, and when prompted, all you got to do is click Install Stripe so the payment system is integrated directly into the portal. And after a few minutes, of course, the platform will finally generate the full layout, including the components, the back-end functions, and the payment infrastructure. And once it's all done, you'll see a working preview of the app. Next, you'll set up authentication and user access. Hover over the prompt panel, click the settings gear again, and make sure that Opus 4.6 is still selected. After that, answer this prompt exactly. Add a settings menu to add users and set user access, create an admin role that has elevated access, and a client role that only sees their own rows in the project entity. So this is to ensure that client A cannot see the assets belonging to client B. And after this step with the prompt, the app will now include a settings page where you can manage users and assign roles. Admins will have full control while clients will only be able to see their own projects. And this creates proper data separation through row-level security, which is essential when handling multiple clients inside one system. So now you can integrate automation through a super agent. So let's go ahead and visit this URL from Base44 and click Get Your Super Agent. Give it a name like Studio Sync-Bot, then describe its role using this exact instruction. I built a security client portal here in Base44. The name of the app is Studio Sync Elite. Connect to that app and then monitor the project_briefs entity. Whenever a client uploads a file to the project_briefs entity, summarize their requirements and send me a Gmail notification. And after entering that prompt, the system will then ask you to authenticate Gmail. Once connected, the super agent will then start monitoring the portal continuously. So now, whenever a client uploads a brief or a file, the agent will then read through the content. It'll extract the important details like goals and target audience and style direction, and then also sends a summarized notification directly to you. Now, this removes the need to constantly check for updates and ensures that nothing gets missed. And at this point, you've now built a secure client portal designed for managing design projects and client communication in one place. The system uses structured entities like projects, project briefs, deliverables, and payments to organize everything clearly. The interface is clean, as you can see. It's dark themed and built for easy navigation, allowing clients to access their project details without any confusion. The dashboard provides a central view of all projects, including status bars and timelines and progress tracking. Clients can upload project briefs and supporting files, which are then stored in an organized way. The deliverables workflow also allows them to review their designs, approve them, or request revisions without going back to email. Payments are also handled directly through Stripe, so invoices and transactions just stay inside the same system. Role-based access, of course, ensures that each client only sees their own data, and the super agent runs in the background, monitoring activity and again, sending updates all automatically to you. The entire application is just responsive, so it works smoothly across desktop and mobile. Now, for pricing, this service typically ranges from, say, $1,500 to $4,000 for setup, plus $200 to $500 per month per client. The setup fee covers white labeling the portal, connecting a custom domain, and configuring access controls for the client's team. Now, the monthly fee functions more like a SaaS subscription here, covering hosting, security, and the automation layer that just keeps everything running. The value for the client comes from a more streamlined and professional experience. So instead of chasing updates, they can now see project progress in real time, which reduces those just checking in emails significantly. Everything is transparent, from status tracking to approval history, which then just builds trust and keeps communication clear. Clients also gain more control. They can log in at any time. They can upload files, review their work, and access past deliverables without really needing to reach out to you. This improves overall satisfaction because the system now works around their schedule and not yours. Another benefit is eliminating version confusion. Since every file is stored under a structured project entry, then there's no risk of clients using outdated versions of assets. So everything just stays organized and up to date. Profit margins usually land around 80 to 90% for this one, and this is the highest margin service out of all of the offers. It works more like a micro SaaS than a traditional design service. So after the initial portal setup, there's almost no additional work required for each new project. The system just handles project tracking, status updates, and notifications through the super agent. So again, the day-to-day management just runs all on its own. Now, what you're effectively doing here is providing clients with a premium, structured experience that they can access at any time, while your cost stays nearly the same, regardless of how much they use it. All right, and that's really the shift you need to understand here, because this isn't about becoming a better designer in the more traditional sense. It's more about building systems that do the work for you. Each of these services solves a real problem. Businesses need consistent branding, they need working prototypes, they need content at scale, and they need better ways to manage projects. So once you package those into systems instead of one-off designs, the way you get paid changes completely. So that's it. I appreciate you investing your time with me today, and I'll see you at the next one.